Some of you may have seen all or parts of the town hall meeting on gun control staged this week by the Obama administration. If not, you certainly heard reports about it from the propagandists in the press. You know, I call it a town hall meeting only because that's the label that was placed on it. While it wasn't scripted as such, it was as predictable as a WWF wrestling match. It was an invitation-only event. No tickets were available, and it's my understanding that it was closed even to the students at George Mason University. While gun control opponents were indeed allowed to participate, it's my understanding that the questions posed needed to be submitted in advance. This, of course, allowed Mr. Obama time to plan his answers. You know, I really guess there's nothing wrong with being prepared. It makes for a better presentation, albeit less spontaneous. But with that said, it certainly seems more of a media event to promote and justify the executive action he is planning rather than an unrehearsed town hall meeting. One of the Second Amendment supporters that was allowed to present a question was an Arizona sheriff. He presented the idea that the controls Obama is proposing would not have prevented any of the horrific mass shootings that have sickened us all recently, nor would they prevent any terrorist attacks. No surprise that the president had a response ready. His answer went along the lines that, well, we might not be able to prevent all tragedies like Newtown, and of course he referred to that horrendous event to tug at our heartstrings. While we can't prevent them all, we should try to prevent the ones we can. Nobody is saying that we shouldn't try to prevent them. His point was that your proposed actions wouldn't prevent them. The president's response was a great example of the leftist spin logic that if you oppose his actions, then you must be a heartless, cold, gun-toting cowboy who doesn't care about the lives of those children. That's not what he said or asked, Mr. President. You changed the subject. You twisted the thought line and went back to making a presentation on justifying your coming actions. Another opponent to his anti-gun crusade that was allowed to speak was Taya Kyle, the widow of American sniper Chris Kyle. She also suggested that his proposed executive actions would not have prevented any of the mass shootings, but then she went on to say that while we have an all-time high for gun ownership in America, our murder rate is decreasing. Once again, the president went off on a tangent and mentioned that the areas with the highest gun ownership still had high crime rates. No kidding, Mr. President. Do you think that maybe there's a reason that the people in high crime areas want to own a gun? And keep in mind that the statistics are about legal gun ownership, not street guns. Now, along those same lines, he suggested as an answer to another question from a different person that the reason gun violence was so high in Chicago and other cities with strict gun laws, it's the fault of less strict gun laws in neighboring cities and states. I don't recall him connecting the dots and detailing the crime rates in those neighborhood areas with less strict gun laws. I wonder, are the crime rates there just as high? Wouldn't that be a pertinent detail to look at? Then there was a woman who was a rape survivor. She's now the mother of two and posed the question why he wanted to make it harder for her to possess a gun and protect herself and her family. Of course, one of the first things out of his mouth was that his actions would not make it harder for her to possess a gun. Is that so? He didn't really explain on how that would work. He then went off on a tangent again and suggested that her having a gun might not have prevented that rape. He suggested that a person had to be pretty well trained to use a weapon, and that having a weapon in your home could lead to a tragic accident. Mr. President, that's not what she asked. Let's assume that she is trained. Let's assume that she is a responsible gun owner. The lady asked why you wanted to make it harder for her to own a gun and protect herself and her family. You didn't answer that question, Mr. President. Now, this was not a town hall meeting. It was a public relations event. It was there to promote support for his coming executive actions. There are many questions that were not asked, and I would like to have some of these answered. And if there's any lefties still watching this, please feel free to email me and answer them. How is taking a gun away from innocent people going to make them any safer? What are we doing to reduce the number of illegal guns in those high crime areas? Are you opposed to armed citizens using a weapon to protect themselves? If making guns is illegal, then why don't we just make heroin and meth illegal as well? Tens of thousands of people are killed every year in cars. Are our licensing laws there having an effect on any of that? Is gun control about guns, or is it about control? Is climate change the reason for gun violence? Just asking. Let me close here by assuring you, Mr. President, that it is not the color of your skin that makes people like me so unhappy with you. It's your arrogance. You insist on forcing your twisted, postmodern point of view on America. It's your lies. You exhibit a superiority complex that is rampant on the left. You, collectively, seem to feel that we little people are beneath you, and we need you to tell us how to live our lives. I've been told by others like you that it is the collective that's all important, not the individual. You seem to detest individualism. Perhaps that's why the concept of personal responsibility has gone by the wayside. Thugs are not responsible for their antisocial behavior and actions. They're simply victims of our society. Muslim fundamentalists are justified in their actions because America has stolen from them in order to succeed. Mr. President, you and your lefty comrades have zero appreciation that it was individualism and personal responsibility that made America the great nation that it is and the envy of the whole world. It is individualism that has given the collective the freedom, liberty, and prosperity that we all enjoy at this moment in time. It is individualism that makes the collective great. Are you offended, Mr. President, that I infer that you're a liar? Not once, but twice. You took an oath to defend and preserve the Constitution. But for the last 7 years, you have trampled all over our laws and traditions. Above all, it is that betrayal in its totality that sickens us who cherish our freedoms and liberty. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again soon.